call the meeting to order. And at this point, I'll ask my friend Irene to lead us in the invocation. Irene?
Dear God, we seek your help with our affairs today. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. Please share a little of your wisdom with us to help us do right by all concerned. Thank you for your heavenly blessings. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Join me in the Texas pledge, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here this morning. Irene, is there the director's a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Jerry Garcia,
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Lizondo,
Present.
Leo Gonzalez,
Here.
Devin Bakta, Deanne Haviland,
Here.
Caitlin Shoup, Gabrielle Hilpo,
Yes.
Susie Sullivan,
Here.
James McGill,
Present.
John Cudd,
Here.
Ed Bennett,
Here.
Kevin Kishnick,
Here.
Mr. Ramiro Canales,
Here.
Leticia Roberts,
Here.
Melissa Vela,
Here.
and Terry Noack. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any public comment, Irene?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we're going to go to item number 6, discussion and/or action on consent agenda. If you have any questions or want me to get stipulated on the letter, and we'll bring it up to discussion. If not, I'll go ahead and accept the motion to approve all items as presented. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Kevin makes a motion to approve the items as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
LA seconds that. Thank you very much. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, we're going to go to item number 7, which is the Taxpayer Liaison Officer's Report. Ms. Noack?
Good morning. Sorry, good morning. Okay. Normally, you don't see anything in comments, complaints, or suggestions. However,
Can you get closer to the mic, please, too?
still too short for this one. Normally, you don't see anything in comments, complaints, and suggestions because there usually isn't anything of great importance. However, earlier in October, Mr. Godinez, who is one of the appraisers, filed a formal complaint against Mr. McCabe. And I included in my report what the complaint was about, what occurred, and what I did to resolve it. In the summary, I kind of explained what had happened. They were in, and just briefly, they were in a hearing. Mr. McCabe was chairing the panel, and Mr. Godinez was the representative of NCAD, as the appraiser. And there was an issue with the property owner had met previously with the appraiser, provided evidence, and they had not come to an agreement. They had not come to a settlement. And so when that happens, then it automatically, well, not automatically, but then they can take it to the appraisal review board, which this property owner chose to do. Normally, when an appraiser meets with a property owner, whether it's by phone or email or in person, if they're provided evidence, it usually gets scanned into that property owner's file and for that case, for that property. Eric did not do that. And and the property owner assumed that that would happen. And so when the hearing took place, the property owner was under the assumption that his evidence would be in that file, and it was not. So that kind of put the ARB at a disadvantage because now they don't, again, that property owner assumed it would be there. It was not, so he didn't bring it with him to present again. I believe he had it on his phone, but they can't look at it. If it's on the phone, it has to be either on a thumb drive or a CD or a paper copy. At any rate, there was a conversation back and forth about, well, Mr. Godinez brought one copy of the evidence that he had, which is insufficient for property owner to look at, appraisal review board members to look at. At any rate, there was a discussion going back and forth about that. It all ended up fine. The hearing took place. The determination was made. Everything ended up being okay. The panel asked me to come down so that they could inform me what had happened. And at that time told me that this was not the first time that this has happened with this particular appraiser. So Mr. Tiller and I listened to the hearing, and then Neil gave me the video of it as well. So I looked at it. I looked at it multiple times, but Mr. Tiller and I listened to it once together, and I listened to it again by myself. And the resolution was, after I talked with the property owner, Mr. Tiller, Mr. McCabe, Mr. Godinez, Letty, Jessica, talked to everybody, and the resolution was that Mr. Godinez and Mr. McCabe would never work on the same panel or never be in the same panel room together, which ends up being a moot point because Mr. McCabe comes to the end of his term in December and therefore won't be there. Also, per Jessica and Letty and Eric, he will not be representing NCAD in a hearing until he has further training. And when he and I spoke, that was one of the first things he said as his part of, here's what I think needs to happen. And then Mr. McCabe also asked that it be included in the resolution that there is no contact between him and Mr. Godinez either way, in any way, shape, or form. Everyone agreed to that, and so this happened on October 22nd. It was taken care of by October 24th. It's one of those very difficult parts of my job, especially when it's appraiser and ARB, but it happened, and so I had to include it in my report, and here we are. So it's done. Everybody's happy with the result or with the resolution, and so any questions on that one?
When I read this complaint, I really have to say he needs more training even in filing a complaint, because in my eyes it's completely inappropriate to talk about the eyesight of the chairman and to talk about whether he was wearing glasses or not and that he is old. And I mean, you have a chair, right? And he can talk about what he did, but about what he looked like or his personal stuff, I think that's just, even the complaint itself is uneducated, let's put it this way. I
felt very much the way you do, but
Yeah.
it was formal, it was in writing, so I really didn't have a choice. And I gave Eric the option to, after everything was said and done, and we came to the resolution, I gave him the option to withdraw it. I said, I get it, it's done, it happened, we have record of it, we've come to a resolution with it. I'm giving you the option to withdraw the formal complaint. I said otherwise it has to be presented to the board of directors, and he was adamant that no, he wanted it filed as a formal complaint and brought, so I did. But I agree with you, Gabby, it's not normally what a complaint would be filed for. I think there was just some tension there.
It's
So,
just, and I've been in a lot of ARB hearings, and I know, it's difficult for everyone. Whether it's their appraisers, they sometimes have a hard time. But I do think it's really, when it comes to evidence and how you present it and how you deal with the other people, I mean, unfortunately, the appraisers have to be the better trained ones, because they do it all the time, and the people that come in, and the chair people, even the hearing people, you guys come in for a short period of time, right? So the standard should be much higher on the appraiser coming in, whether it's the evidence, whether it's the behavior. And I don't know if you agree, and it's hard for you guys, I'm aware of that.
No, we are aware, and we've taken steps to
Yeah.
correct that. And we also had a clerk in the past that had a similar issue, and that had also been dealt with as well. And he was the most recent one. The clerk was about maybe a couple of months
Mhm.
prior to Mr. Eric doing what he did.
And, you know, and I asked Letty, and Letty listened to it, and I believe Jessica did as well, because I want as many perspectives as I possibly can get when it comes to, are you seeing and hearing what I'm seeing and hearing, and is this, what do we need to do to fix this, to make it right? And so, and that was Eric's, when I spoke with him, he said, I don't want this to ever happen to another appraiser. I said, okay, I get that, I understand that. And so that's why we were talking about more extensive training, and he readily admitted, he agreed. He said, I need more training on how to represent NCAD in those hearings. And so, you know, like I said, the resolution kind of came from everybody with the same feelings on what needed to happen, so. But
Did you get the general sense that we should train the other, retrain or intensify training on the other appraisers as well?
to the best of my knowledge, no ARB member, and neither when I was on the ARB did we run into this problem. So they are very well trained. I think this particular appraiser kind of fell through the cracks somewhere. But he definitely needs to be more. But the rest, you know, as for the rest of the appraisers, I mean, I don't think any of us can say, I say us, but I don't think, the ARB has never come and said, hey, this person, you know, doesn't present evidence or doesn't present enough evidence, or.
Okay.
So, yeah, the answer to your question is I think they're very well trained. Like I said, Eric kind of fell through the cracks,
All
I
right.
think.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just that, the ARB did 5,000, how many did I say? 5,434 hearings in 2024. At first, I looked at Chrissy, I said, well, that doesn't seem like a lot. She's like, what? Based on there were, I think, over 40,000 filed this year, or close to it.
We're at almost 35,397.
Okay, I lied. I exaggerated a little bit, but anyway, they worked very hard, and what they accomplished in that time frame, very good. And I spoke to a lot of people, some of them not happy, but a lot of them, you know, were very pleased with how the ARB conducted themselves and you know, with their results. They weren't always happy with their results, but they were happy with how everything was handled, so that was good.
Okay.
And the only other thing is the applications have been submitted.
Does anyone have any questions for Tara?
Nope.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
very much,
thank you.
ma'am. I appreciate it. Now we're going to go on to item number 8, and for the designating the appraisal review board members, but we have been asked to postpone this item into the future. Is that correct, Belinda?
To next month. to December.
So we are tabling item number 8. Now, item number 9. I'm sorry?
And to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry, can I just ask why?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
You already asked, and I'll let the attorneys answer that for you, Susan.
So it's a new process, obviously, for the Board of Directors to appoint the ARB. There's some issue with the terms that we need to look at for the entire ARB. We haven't gotten that information, so we want to make sure that we have everything ready to go, that when we step off, we're stepping off in the right direction, and that we keep it going in the right direction. So that's why we're asking for it to be postponed until next week.
Any other questions?
Are we going to lose any applicants with the delay?
No.
Okay.
No, we have all the applicants ready to go.
I'll accept a motion to postpone this item. LA makes a motion, a second.
Second.
Gabby seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 9, discussion or action to approve holiday schedule. Who's going to handle that? You are, Ron?
Yes. Basically what it is, we're retaining the same amount of holidays, except staff is asking to see if the board would want to give the Easter Monday, which would be April 21st of next year. And that'll coincide with the county and the city as far as having the same. Go ahead. County and the schools coincides with having the same holiday. Other than that, we have the
Everything else
same
remains the
schedule.
same, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have a question on the holiday? Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone done, like what that would cost, a whole day of PTO for everyone? Do we have a dollar figure? And the reason I'm asking is I was just wondering if it was in the budget or how that might affect the budget.
Basically, no, we don't have the number at this point, but we'll get it to you later this afternoon as to what the cost would be for taking the time off to do what we do and go from there.
So I guess if we're ready to vote on this, maybe we don't think that that's going to affect it too much,
No,
the budget.
It's still there.
It shouldn't
I
affect
mean,
the
it's just,
budget?
it's just a day of, they're not working, but the budget is not
Yeah,
gonna,
but it's
it's not gonna
PTO,
increase.
right? So
It's-
everyone gets paid on, I mean, I don't
it's-
know. Isn't there a line
There's
item
Well, there's
on the
360,
budget?
we're not adding a day to the year, so it's already, their salaries are for that year, it's just a day off for that, so. And I understand why they're doing this, because I know the county does this because it's very, we have a lot of single parents that work, and then when the school's out, it causes.
Oh, I get the
Yeah,
why. I
yeah.
was just wondering about the numbers and the
Yeah,
budget.
so it was not gonna increase the budget.
Any other questions?
I would assume that would be a permanent deal then, right? If we
Yes, ma'am.
approve it, so it would be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Anything else for the board? At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the holiday schedule.
Motion to accept.
Kevin accepts, thank you, the motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
LA seconds it. Any further discussion at this time? All in favor vote aye. Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously. Thank you very much, folks. Now, item number 10, discussion or action of the third quarter 2024 investment report. At this time, Ronnie, can you introduce our new financial officer?
yes. This is Irma Vera. She
Oh,
comes
very
to us
good.
from Houston, Texas. She's graduate from Kingsville, A&M. She's also worked for 3 prominent accounting firms throughout the United States. And we just hired her about, how long ago, a month ago?
Yes.
About a month ago. So she's has a learning curve to do, but she's very good at what she's been doing. And like I said, her name is Irma Vera, and we'll go from there.
Great. It's great to have you, Ms. Veta. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody. It's my first time in a large crowd like this.
Can you talk into the mic,
Oh,
please?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Nice to meet everybody. So I just did the investment report, the third quarter. I followed the same process as my predecessor, but I did review, the documentation that, was left and provided per the other quarters. So I updated that third quarter to give us the numbers that we usually report to the board. I do want to mention that upon reviewing the documentation and doing my little mini audit, since that is my background, I did notice that we did identify just a transposing of numbers, but it wasn't a big material number. It was just $200, but we fixed it, and just want to let you guys know. So these are the numbers for this quarter. The balance, which, do you want me to go over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the overall, an average of 6.1 million was available to invest for the quarter and earned 4.81%, which is your 74,237 return on investment versus our benchmark for of 4.99%. Our bank accounts and the district earns both traditional interest on account balances and earnings credit, ECR, and internal and non-cash credit that offsets bank fees that would otherwise be paid in cash. There's an economic benefit. Traditional interest paid on the district totaled $95, and the ECR saved $1,710 in fees. The average yield for this portion of the portfolio was 0.90%. I don't think, is that me?
Yes.
Am I making that noise?
It's a microphone.
It's a microphone.
I'm sorry.
What happens is when it catches a little bit of lying, it sort of.
Oh, God, oh, God. I don't mean to blow up the system. Do you want me to move back?
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
just move back.
Okay, sorry. Okay. First order of business, blow up the mic system. So then the secure collateralization of the district funds over the 250,000, which I know that you guys are aware. That's what we do of the FDIC coverage by pledging certain of its own assets in care of an independent third-party custodian bank of New York Mellon. The custodian sends evidence of this to the district routinely. The following summarizes collateralization activity as of the end of the quarter. So the bank ledger balance, FDIC coverage. So this is what 1,216,354. Collateral market value was 1,253,727. The percent collateralized was 132%. The district's investment policy requires 102 minimum of collateral on balances. Higher bank balances usually occur at the end of each quarter because of several large entity quarterly payments are received generally in short time frame.
Right?
And
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
No, go
Okay,
ahead.
just one more item. Tax pool, the earnings on district funds total 72,782, or what you wanted to see, 5.31% annualized yield on this portion of the portfolio during the quarter. Tax pool shares were valued at $1 per share. Investments in tax pool are not guaranteed or insured. Weighted average days to maturity is 38 days at the end of the quarter.
Does anyone have any questions for Idma, please? Any questions? May I have a motion to accept the third quarter investment report?
So made.
Gabby makes that motion. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Leo seconds that. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Idma, thank you very much and welcome aboard.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much. Nice meeting you. I think I have one more item.
Oh, you do?
I'll stay here.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So in accordance with the investment policy, we are requesting approval from the board to update the authorized users for the tax pool account. I verified the investment policy. We need approval from the board to fill out the form and change the designated authorized users. So that's something that we're requesting from the board.
And that would be you personally, Idma?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes.
All right, good. May I have a motion to accept that, please?
I'll make a motion.
Leo makes that motion. A second?
Second.
Caitlin seconds that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Nice meeting you.
Imran, before you step on,
Yes.
can you give us a little brief background on your resume?
So I do, yes, I will give you a brief. I started my accounting career in governmental accounting. I did forensic accounting as well. I worked with, my first career was with a top 50 accounting firm based out of Mississippi. After that, I went to EY which is one of your big four accounting firms in Houston, in the nation. And I worked with them for 3 years with the forensic department, also with federal and governmental and insurance. After that, I also worked with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, audit. We audited your startup companies that wanted to go public and wanted to get their IPO. And that is my background. It's basically been audit, non-traditional and traditional, so, and governmental.
Okay.
I've done with municipalities on federal grants and everything.
And you worked, did I hear you correctly, Ron, that you worked in Houston as well, Irma?
Yes, Houston is my home, but Kingsville and South Texas has also been my home. So I have 2 homes.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we now? Item number 12. Discussion or action to approve order designating evaluation committee for requests for proposal for computer-assisted mass appraisal system. You want to explain that to us?
Lady?
Okay. So right now we have
Thank you, ma'am.
an RFP out, and part of the RFP that we have to designate, like a committee to go over, all the proposals that are coming in. And the proposals, we've already sent that out. It's been out, for about a month, and all proposals are due, November 14th at 3. That's when we'll open up all the proposals. We also have to designate a committee. So on this committee, this is what you'll see on page, tab 12, page 27. You'll find that the committee there, how we're designating it would be the chief, the assistant chief, the director administration, information service systems manager, the market analysis manager. And we'll go over the proposals, rate them, and so we're asking the board to approve this or make a motion to, so that we can continue with this.
Okay. Do you all need a minute to read page number 27?
Can we name the people? I think
I
we
can't
know.
hear you, Susan.
Can we name the people in these positions, just so we all know?
Yes.
Sure.
Lady?
Chief appraiser would be Ronnie Canales. Assistant chief appraiser would be Leticia Roberts. Director of administration would be Irma Vera. Information system manager would be Neil Nandine. And market analysis manager would be Chris Barnett.
Any other questions for Letty? I'll go ahead and accept the motion. To accept it, please.
Motions are made.
Gabby makes that motion. Thank you, Gabby. Is there a second? LA seconds it. Any further discussion, folks? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now, let's go on to item number 13. Discussion or action to renew Thomas Y. Pickett and Company Incorporated contract for appraisal services. Can we go ahead and have one of you gentlemen come up and, or what are we gonna do on this? With Irma, you're gonna bring it up? Okay.
That's another of my items. Hello again. So we are requesting that the contract get approved to the time. The contract should be expiring December 31st of this year. There's not enough time to do RFQ. So as being that said, we are asking if we can renew the contract for an additional 2 years because of the lack of time.
Renewed for how long?
For another 2 years.
For another 2 years?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, but as far as your discussion?
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions for Irma.
Why did we run out of time?
Hold on just a second. Caitlin?
When's the last year it went out for RFQ?
No, it's been, just even before I got here. Doug, how long y'all been with the appraisal district?
How long have you been with the Nueces County Appraisal
Yes, sir.
District? Since the inception of 1982.
Wow,
That's what I'm saying, this was before even I got here.
that's a long time.
Ed, you had a question?
Why did we run out of time to get the
RFQ. I mean, we're kind of operating with a gun to our head right now.
That is true, but one is that, well, you know, we had not brought it up as to whether we were gonna do this or not. We went through it this year, and then also too, we just figured that we would extend it for at least another year to 2 years at most, and in the meantime, we had the discretion at that point to go ahead and put it out for bids.
I think,
I don't believe we should extend it. I think we should go out for RFQ. We discussed this 2 or 3 months ago when T.Y. Pickett introduced themselves. And I personally don't like being put under the gun saying we have to do this. I disagree. I do not want to extend the contract. I'm not opposed to T.Y. Pickett bidding on the contract, but,
Right.
you know, we're not going to operate by default, or I'm not anyway.
Okay.
Any other question, any other comments?
well, I've got some, I've noticed some anomalies over the last couple of years, particularly with, when I've been doing some research on some of these, abatements for the county and so forth, and I found several accounts that hadn't changed values in multiple years. One of them goes back, I think the CC Polymers had the exact same valuation for like 5, 6, 7 years in a row, like to the dollar. And to me, that gives the appearance of rubber stamping. And I've run across other smaller accounts too. One of them didn't change values for like about 12 years.
Let me understand this. You're saying that there's properties that literally have went 5 and 12 years and have not changed value
That's
at all?
correct. That's correct. And I saw the same problem
Wow.
with the on one of the litigated accounts where we had to do some research for, and it was on one of the tank farms, and it was like around 1.8, 1.9 million. Then it shot up to 80, and then came back down, but it stayed the exact same value for at least 5 or 6 years in a row. Didn't change by a dollar at all. And to me, that gives the appearance of rubber stamping, and I'm not okay with this.
I'm not either, and this is why nobody trusts us.
Okay.
And I think, you know, I do think we need to go out for RFQ, and I think there's a little bit too much complacency going on with T.Y. Pickett and these sort of items that are going on, and I'm not okay with approving this contract.
I agree. I agree.
Okay. Does anyone have any other comments?
I have one comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, to go out for an RFQ does take time. So the process, you know, it takes a while to create, you know, ask for this and then to review it. I mean, it took us a long time to do the one for the CAMA. So maybe I'll keep in mind the time period that it's going to take, plus when, say, you know, you do have another company come in, just the conversion also of all the accounts and the time period that it takes to, like, we're already in the middle of reappraisal for the next tax
Well,
year.
why did we wait this long then? I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, because we've brought this up that we wanted to take a look at this in the past, and it wasn't brought to our attention. We could have had a meeting in October. We had a bunch of skipped meetings. We could have done this on, but yet nothing. And it wasn't brought to, you know, our attention. Another big mistake is they put the Tesla plant in Bishop ISD. We just got a correction for that. It's in Robstown. That's a huge. I mean, that's not acceptable. It's 8% of their budget that it affected. A couple years ago, they missed $152 million worth of, and we had to recertify properties. It was 52 accounts. I think there's just way too much complacency, and I'm not okay with that.
As far as time for the RFQ, if somebody really wants to work, they'll get their act together and get RFQ and get their quote in.
Can I ask if there maybe might be an option with having just a couple of months extension with T.Y. Pickett? Might be, I know that's a different, that's a different.
I was thinking the same thing, Susan. I
like
wasn't
2 or
gonna
3
say it until
months, or-
everybody brought up their comments, but maybe a quarter of an extension for a 3-month extension.
So we can get all of our ducks in a row and really do what we've been wanting to do
Yeah.
with the RFQ.
It would be incumbent upon
Us,
I'm sorry.
us to do this.
Let me ask you about values, because we're going into valuation, right? You started already?
Yes.
Yes, we start
So-
right after certification.
You were starting, this means the commercial guys are starting evaluation as well.
Yes.
So basically, if we do a 3 months extension, are they then just evaluating for the year? Because that's the reality of it then, you know? I'm just putting it out there from a time perspective. If we say you want a different company doing it for this year, that it has to happen in the next 2 months, right?
Right.
To have an RFQ and a different company, because the valuation has to then happen latest, I would say, by end of December, January, starting maybe February if they're really fast, depending on the company, depending on how fast they could be. So on a time level, I think it's all, everyone needs to just think about, if you want someone, if you want to have an even playing field, then you have to be really fast with an RFQ, because they have to evaluate it pretty soon.
I definitely
If
appreciate.
you want them to evaluate for the year, then a 3
Yeah.
months extension will give
Yeah,
them
I
that
definitely
option,
appreciate
you know.
what Letty's say, working in the administrative side, switching over
Yeah.
could be a nightmare, and you don't want more errors because the switching is not easy, and it's
Yeah.
not, it's a migration that takes so much time, I'm sure.
See,
But yeah, I guess it's finding that right balance. I don't know if a month is long enough, or if 2 months, but you're saying 3 months might be too long to
No,
where
I'm
they're.
just saying then they have to
Right.
finish the whole evaluation
Right,
for the year.
I understand,
Because it
yeah.
doesn't make sense to have it in between, right?
Yeah.
You
So-
can't say,
yeah.
I cut them off in March when the evaluation should be out.
So
you
maybe
know?
at this meeting, we could just say a 1 month extension for now, and then see how it goes with the RFQs, and if it needs to be, I don't know, I'm just offering
Yeah.
options.
Well, I'm not for that, because what Kevin just said, if it's going to be the same, missing $150 million, or the same property not being evaluated, or staying the same, we're going to get the same for the next month, 3 months, year.
Right, but what we're
So-
saying is administratively, it might not even be possible at all.
Do we
to
know?
get
We
something
shouldn't
that
be in this
fast
position
and
right now.
switched over.
We don't know that for certain. I think.
Right, we
We're
don't,
making
but that's what I'm
assumptions right now.
saying. That's why we're having the discussion. We're
Okay.
trying to figure out the balance between what is doable and what's not even possible.
I mean, Melissa, is there any criteria for us on that process? That,
So,
like, how does that work
so
legally?
as far as the RFQ, I think we would have probably had to have started this process 4 to 6 months ago. Because the RFQ does take a long time to prepare, right? It goes through the we have to maybe look to other districts to see what they put out. We have to adjust it for ourselves. It has to go through a legal review. I mean, it takes months to get an RFQ prepared, get it sent out. There's notice requirements that we have to do statutorily. And then the time frame in order to get the proposals in, to get an evaluation committee, to get them evaluated, to get it awarded. And then obviously there's the issue that we've already been discussing in terms of just transferring over the accounts, the administrative part of that, which we don't know how that would go. That's gonna take a while. And so really the process probably should have started, even if we had an October meeting, I don't know that we would have been able to accomplish all of that.
I mean, it took us a long time just to do the one for the pictometry, and that was a big process. And then the next one we did was the CAMA, and we were lucky enough that we did get a lot of help from another county that had just gone through that, so we kind of tweaked it towards what we needed. But just preparing the RFQ, I mean, the RFP for the CAMA was, how many pages? It was like 64 pages. And it lists every little, I mean, y'all can look at it, it's on our website, just to see what is required of of a new vendor.
And it's all very highly
Yes,
technical.
it's very technical.
I think
Is that by statute, or are we making this more difficult than it needs to be? Does this have to be as difficult as we're discussing right now? It has to be statutorily?
Yes, I mean, it is statutory, in terms of the notice, in terms of the process.
Okay.
Yes,
um,
everything.
The time frame for us to, I mean, it's all the timing of it,
Mhm.
right?
But we discussed this in July.
Yeah.
At the first meeting
And
we discussed
I'm
TY
very,
Pickett.
I'm very uncomfortable with the board being put in this position. That we shouldn't be in this position
We should
at
not be
all.
in this position.
But now going forward, we can't go back in time. We need to figure out how to go forward. So I'm proposing that we figure out the shortest time period to stay with TY Pickett, because otherwise we can't function, right? So I also understand, if proposal is umpteen pages, that's just what it is. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, just
Well,
because it's a lot.
Susan, the reality is that I, much like John, do not appreciate being put in this position, because it was totally beyond our reach.
So can,
But the thing is that we can't move back in time.
Right. Let's just move forward.
And we need to go and do something, because we can't be behind the 8 ball and not get any evaluation. Not evaluation, but any evaluation. So that's where we're at this point, folks. And that's all I've got to say on it. Anybody else have anything to say?
We have lawyers, we have staff. Let's meet in 2 weeks and see what they come up with. 2 weeks ain't gonna kill anybody. I mean, we've goofed around with this thing for 5 months, and we hadn't done anything.
We can do that, Chair. We can do that.
do you mean come up with, like, starting an RFQ process?
Yeah,
Or a
yeah.
timeline?
And just move on with it. And
Well, and I think Deanne's question was a good one, is how much is complicated and how much is just structural? Because if there's a lot of pages that are, just pages to put out there, but everyone knows them, that's in the business, that's a different story than having to really redo it new. It's like filling out forms. They look like a lot, but by the end of the day, the people involved know what they're doing,
Sure.
So I think it's maybe a good idea to just
Well, we
get
can
our
certainly,
ducks in a row.
implement it, start implementing it, and see what we can come up with. Melissa,
I'm sorry,
what do you think about that?
coming back in 2 weeks?
Yeah, no, implementing the process and even coming back in 2 weeks and see where we're at on that. What do you feel?
Gentlemen, we're on November 13th. The contract ends December 31st, and we're talking about giving them a month. So are we talking about giving them a month after December 31st? Then we go back to what Caitlin was saying. Do we just stop midstream then while they're evaluating? I mean,
Well, I think the other problem's gonna be, we've got valuations that have to come through. What's gonna get done, what's not gonna get done? Is it gonna be rubber stamped, because, they're on notice that, we're not happy with them? I mean, I don't know. But if we need kind of some direction for you guys, but I mean, we really should have, we asked to discuss this last time, because I know I brought it up, to look at others, because, you need fresh eyes. I look at it like an auditor. Get complacent looking at the same time for so long, and it's time to switch things around. I mentioned that last time, and now here we are again, and this isn't new news.
I just know the taxpayers would have a fit if they knew that we extended one more day a contract to a company that did not evaluate or left evaluations the same for a decade.
But would they
Yeah.
also be more upset if we had nothing?
Probably not.
Yeah, well, no, it'll cause some major problems.
That would cause some major problems,
It'll-
okay?
That'll.
We need to be sensible about
Can-
how to make a smooth transition.
Can I
If
just
they're-
suggest that, okay, it's my fault that we didn't do what we were supposed to do as well. But if you give them a year, within that 1 year, we have enough time to put together your RFQ, get the year out of the way, and then in the process, probably mid-May or June, we'll have someone, as far as the bidders are concerned, to come in with a new for 26. if that's, would be accommodating to everybody here on the board.
I think that would be appropriate, given the complexities of
Yes.
what's going on here, because, you know, as much as I would like to have it done now, I know the timeframe's not gonna be there.
But did they really need a whole year?
Well, because they're gonna have to complete, so values get certified on July
Okay. Well,
25th. So, at least we wouldn't be rushing the RFQ, and we can really do a deep dive into the companies that are available. You know, that brings in, you know, are we going to TAD? Do we know anything about the TAD conference? Because all these guys are over there, and we could start
think-
putting some feelers out at that point too. talking
TAD's in
to-
February, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah, Kevin, we're supposed to be going to the TAD conference.
Yeah, so, I mean, you'll get a chance to meet a lot of them there and let them know an RFQ is going out, so, I mean, talk to them, find out what, you know, you'll get to,
Because basically that's what we did with the CAMA RFQ,
yeah.
with the new software, hardware stuff.
So I
that we need
guarantee
to
all the
get.
players are gonna be there.
So one more thing to mention is that this is a professional service, so we don't necessarily have to go out for RFQ, but
It's a better idea too. You don't
I
know
mean,
who,
typically, right, I mean, we wouldn't know how to obtain or who would be interested in without putting out an
RFQ.
the only other option we'd have we could call some of the other chief appraisers, have the heavy industrial and talk to them about who they're using.
Mhm.
I mean, I know I've talked to Harris County, I know that they're using Capital, but that's the only, I don't wanna just say, let's use Capital, because, I mean, I don't know who else is out there.
You got P&A,
Yeah.
that's in San
So-
Pat.
Yeah, so I think we need to know who's got experience in the heavy industrial and get their qualifications, how, you know, what they do and where they do it at, so we make an educated decision. I don't want to just jump and say, we're going to use X,
Right.
because I don't know who else is out there.
Right, and just to keep in mind also on the appraisal side, the appraisals are very cyclical, right? So it's always going on, whether it's the discovery phase, the appraisal phase, equalization, I mean, it's constantly going on. So really to be able to figure out that one point in time when it's appropriate or how can we do a transition is also difficult. And then the number of accounts that this vendor would be dealing with
Transition.
is thousands of accounts. I mean, just for Flint Hills, we're talking about 400 plus accounts. But they don't just do the refineries, right? They do the pipelines and other industrials. So it is a very large task. There's a lot of moving parts. So we just wanted to.
Yeah, but
to
the
mention.
evaluations on the refineries have been the same for the last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. So, I mean, whether we have another year of the same evaluation or not is pretty much irrelevant at this point, right? Because we obviously have the same thing, and if they get evaluated higher, then they sue, and we're getting to the same deal again. So,
Right.
I mean, this is a lot of work for nothing in my, in my world, in terms of. Are you saying that if the contract has run out, that the board or the chief appraiser, or who would be able to pick between T.Y. Pickett and or who else is out there, a new company without the RFQ?
I think the statute reads that it would be the chief appraiser, but with the approval of the board.
Okay, so that would be the process. Okay, just that I understand it.
anything else? Anything else?
And
Doug, you want to come up and talk?
I would just like to make one comment, and that is, we would welcome the opportunity, I don't know if at a board meeting is the proper way to do this, but welcome the opportunity to meet with anyone personally and explain or defend these allegations that have been made against our company appraisal-wise. I think they're wrong. I think people are not aware of the whole situation, and we would like that opportunity to meet and explain this.
So can I ask the question?
Sure.
Because I put it down and I didn't know, but the Bishop plant drops down, was that put in the right place or was that put in the wrong?
No, that was a clerical error. Let me just say.
Just to ask.
All right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
last month, I have a coffee maker. It's a great carafe coffee maker. It makes espresso. Instead of pushing coffee, I turned it off. Things like this happen. You know, someone, probably one of our most trusted people in our company, made an error. They look up the jurisdictions. We know they look up the jurisdictions on the appraisal district's website. You know, we have access. And somebody pushed the wrong button. You know, and then you have a big white elephant. It happens about every 10 years. Something goes wrong. You make an error, a mental error. That's why unloaded guns kill so many people. That's why people have accidents. That's why car wrecks happen. It was an error.
But for Bishop, this is a huge deal, right? I mean, in comparison, not for us, but for Bishop, it's a big deal because that gets taken away from them, right?
Right, I'd have to see their whole budget. I mean, I can't speak, it's an error.
It's 8%.
It happens, we are very ungrateful. The last time this happened was about 11 years ago. And so,
Okay.
I mean, all we can do is apologize. Someone made an error.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, but some of these other things we would love to meet, and we would love to discuss these allegations of value staying the same and us taking an agent's value or anything like that. We'll be happy to meet with you at our office, your office. If you really want to discuss it right now, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about a business and to talk about value at a board meeting, but I'll be happy to do that.
No, I'd rather not do that.
I'd rather not do that,
Well, then,
because
I'll take you up on it, though.
come, let's do that.
but,
Tell me when and where.
and the reason why I'm not talking about the specific values, because that's not our place, but the thing is I'm seeing a trend. And the trend has been on multiple accounts where there just hasn't been a change, period. And I've got a problem with that.
Okay, when a trend, if you're appraising a company that has a lot of properties, you know, there are different ways to appraise it.
Right.
But I disagree with some of the trends you are seeing. I would like a chance to explain some of these.
Well, I've got
Some of
them.
these that you brought up, I think the value should be lower, should be much lower.
Could be, and I'm not disputing whether it should be high or low. I'm just saying that for it to have no change, year in and year in and year in, is a problem.
If you get no information,
Yeah.
so you don't want to lower a value, even if it's depreciation, because you're not getting information from somebody. You know, things like that do happen. I bet there's houses on the appraisal district road here and everywhere that have not been changed.
Let's go ahead and move on, Doug.
All right.
Yes.
And
Y'all contact me?
John said that you would like to meet with him.
Yeah, I'll get his number.
Okay.
And, and if anyone else, Doug's a person of his word, and if anyone wants to meet with him, he will meet with you all. And we have met on several occasions when I had some issues with him. And Ricardo has called me. You know, we resolve the situation no matter how we look at it. But at this point, we're looking at a year, am I correct?
Yes.
A year extension on the contract to where it would expire December 31st, 2025.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So the way that we have it currently is for 2 years, but the board can certainly just do 1 year. We can
Right.
update the amendment if
Right.
that's the.
Well, if we had
well.
somebody come in after the fact, when would that new contract need to go into effect, given the amount of time and changeover that needs to take place? It's not December 31st.
I don't know. I mean, I would think as soon as they start doing the work.
So,
Maybe
you know,
January 1st of 2026.
that's too long.
Or it would
'cause
depend,
if-
we also need to get the RFQ out.
Yeah,
And we need to get that out
ASAP.
as soon as we can for this year first, so we can get our marbles in order and decide who we want to have. It may be T.Y. Pickett, it may be,
Capital.
maybe, it may, we may go with them again, but I just want to see
anyone
what's,
else who's interested, another professional company.
No, I agree. I'm not limiting, saying they
Letty-
can't bid.
yeah, Letty, what would be the appropriate, when would this transition need to take place?
I would say the appropriate time would be after certification.
Yeah.
And then
In
there'll be
July.
a time period where you can start converting, like, say, in August, because you want to have everything, all your numbers by July, because you need to certify.
Yeah.
So, starting in August, that would be the ideal time.
And there's still some changeover, sometimes that lag on that
Right.
into
And you'll have-
August, so.
Yeah.
See, and that's the same
You'll have a
thing
few
that we have with the
months of
camera
that.
system. We wanted to do it sooner rather than later because of the transition of information from one system to another. They have a lot of accounts that's gonna have to be transitioned. That's why I had said if we give them the year in between now and June, July, that's when we can get our FQ and get done and start our process in June or July to transition numbers and go from there.
So if we
And
did
their
through
expiration
December
date is
31st,
December
we'd probably-
31st.
So if we went December 31st, and if there was a change, not saying there would be one,
Right.
you know, because we'll see what comes out, there'd probably be some overlap
Yes.
during that year. We'd have to address that during the budget cycle, but there's
Right.
definitely going to probably have to be some overlap. So I guess December 31 would be the appropriate, but with the knowledge that we probably have to have that overlap, maybe with the new company, if there is a new one around September or so.
Yeah. See, and then we also need to understand too that once we get the new system in place, whether that vendor is going to be able to transition its information onto the new system.
Yeah, and I would
As
bet
well.
most of the most companies probably could, because they do all the
Well,
big.
the big ones,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so,
We hope so.
okay.
Anything else? Anything else? So we've decided to extend that contract a year. And now accept the motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion to extend the contract a year with the caveat that we also go out for RFQ.
Yes.
Yes.
No, no,
I'm sorry,
that's,
you're right.
that's.
I want to make sure that that happens this time, and we
Yes.
get it. And we go ahead and start that RFQ process
Right.
this spring.
I don't mean to make the motion messy, but that and that. But if I understand that going for an RFQ isn't absolutely required, can we also say that we will be hitting the ground running and maybe even reaching out and asking for, hey, do you want to bid on this? Hey, do you want to bid on? And that way, if we get there faster, we get there faster.
That's
Right?
fine. We don't have to
Instead
tie
of
our
just
hands to the RFQ
waiting.
process.
Right,
but
that's what I'm,
I do think it's
It's a lot cleaner to
it's
go to
cleaner
your
and it's more
RFQ.
transparent, because it gives.
okay. But
we
I
may
just
pick
heard
up
that it wasn't
somebody-
required, so that's
But
why I'm saying
if we've got this
this.
much time going forward, then maybe the RFQ is probably the better route
Right.
to go.
I agree with you. I think probably that's the best thing, instead of us
'Cause I don't wanna-
making phone calls.
I don't want to.
Well, but I think he
Well,
just
don't make phone
named,
calls
he already
about the company.
named the people that, I mean, the companies that he
Well,
thought he might
I named one
know.
I knew of, but I don't know the others.
Okay,
There's others
that's
out there.
fine, I'm just asking.
Anything
we wanna
else?
compare to what we've got, you know, and maybe we stay with TY Pickett. I don't know. It's, we just,
I think the
we need to have
process-
some fresh eyes looking at
The
it.
process would be cleaner, and we could have them reach out to us. Or, and then we can figure out what we're going to do in that interim. So, again, any other questions on that?
I had a question. I believe Caitlin had mentioned we have not ever gone out for RFQ for this position before.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And these implications for waiting this long to extend, have those been shared with any of the other board members or in any meetings? Did I miss anything as far as, I feel waiting to this time, there's a large implication here that should have been communicated prior in other meetings or maybe.
Well, James,
so.
the issue is that, as John stated, we talked about this how long ago, John?
July.
June, July, August.
So maybe you didn't,
So
maybe
this
you weren't
was,
here at that meeting.
so would we consider this an oversight?
I would think so, probably, but I don't know.
Okay. That
See-
is all.
See, the other thing too is that at the end of the meeting, we ask if there's anything that needs to be put on the agenda. And normally we get a couple of things, but we normally don't get a lot of issues for the agenda item. See, and on my side, an oversight, and you want to call it an oversight, it's just something that it was just not for us to do at the time, for some reason or another. But like I said, you know, we'll extend it a year, and in between that time and now, we'll put out an RFQ. That'll make it cleaner as far as the process is concerned, because it had not been done before with this type of vendor. This type of vendor. There are a lot of vendors that could be out there, but then again, those vendors specifically do certain things differently than what we need to look at. That's why the RFQ will be key to what we need to do here in Nueces County. Okay?
Ronnie, can we get a timeline
Yes.
Expect to have now a response.
Mm-hmm. No, we will.
Okay.
Now, do we still want to meet in 2 weeks?
No, I don't think.
it's necessary.
No, if they can't have it together in 2 weeks, there's no.
Right, now Mr. Cudd and Doug will get together
Yeah,
at y'all's
whoever
time.
else wants to get together with Doug, please feel free to reach out.
As long as there's not a quorum.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
As long as,
As long as
then we
they're
have to
not
notice it.
4 or more, or 5 and more, rather.
Five.
And, but anything else? I'm back to my original question, that I'll go ahead and accept the motion for a 1-year extension.
I made a motion.
And,
To
go ahead,
December 31st.
Kevin.
Extend the contract to December 31st with possible overlap.
On 2025, and include the RFQ.
RFQ.
Or include
Right.
RFQ.
Okay?
That's what I got in here.
A second on that, please? LA seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Who's no? Please raise your hand. Ed, James, and John, vote no. Let the record show the dissension. At this point, it still passes. Thank you very much. Now, item number 14, discussion and/or action regarding setting date for Board of Director training. Irma?
Yeah, I believe that was something that was brought up last meeting, and what we were proposing is that after the board members are elected, then maybe we can set a time or a training date, since we really don't know, they're not elected yet, and so we don't have that information.
How do you all feel about that?
Where is the training gonna happen at? Right here?
Right here. Yeah.
And who trains us?
It would be,
I don't know that we even have the information about what the training would be on. That's something, whatever you guys feel like you need to be trained on. We typically do an onboarding whenever we get new members in. We talk about, open meetings, we talk about PIAs, we talk about the agenda and things like that, the board duties.
Can I say, because I think I was one of the first ones, unless it was before I started, but I remember asking for it, and I asked specifically for the industrial area district. We went through a lot of stuff, right, with the law firm and all the other refineries. That was my request, not just general.
so
But
we could.
I just want
we
to
could
say that
address
was my
Susan.
request. Sorry?
We could go specifically into that along with others. Does anyone
Mm-hmm.
else have any issues that you want to bring up with the training?
When are we gonna do this again? When do the new board members come? Probably in January, you think?
Yeah.
It would have to be after January the 1st, Kevin.
Why don't we just like get them a list of things, we definitely need to cover them. I guess we could just collectively communicate with
Or you
with
can always
Melissa and
reach
Belinda
out to Belinda or
Yeah.
Melissa.
on items that you think we need to have covered, and maybe any potential speakers you think might be good, or other people, and then we can set that date. Would y'all be good with that?
Okay.
Yes? No?
So we'll just,
And then, yeah, that way they know how to put the agenda together and then do that,
Right.
so.
so I guess the board after January the 1st will direct. And meanwhile, the rest
They
of the
can start
board
working on it now, though.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
They
Kevin?
can start working on it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one is what Susie was asking about the industrial area.
Yeah.
Industrial district or the industrial area.
We can get the information together for Melissa or Belinda, give them a call, and we can get this ball rolling. Anything else?
I was curious, is this an opportunity to have an outside expert possibly be training us? Is that what we're talking about as well? Or is this internal?
I would think it would be internal.
Okay. Is there a possibility to have an outside expert? Do we have that in the budget
Who
of
would you
some
have
sort?
in mind?
I don't have anybody in mind. I'm just asking
To talk about the industrial?
to just for training in general.
Educate us.
To educate us in general. Somebody outside of the appraisal
Maybe
district.
like comptrollers or something, or
I mean-
P-TEC, or?
What is it that,
Just really opening for discussion as far as.
Yeah, I'm just
General
throwing
question.
stuff out there, like maybe controller's office, maybe?
it would have to come from the comptroller's office, that's where the
That's
guidelines
the only
are.
outside that has authority.
Now, what is it that you would want specifically from them?
Just more in-depth training, I guess, from a different source than what we have internally here. Maybe learn something outside of the local appraisal board.
That's out of the way.
So like the appraisal process, maybe, is that what you're talking about, training on that?
I'll come up with
Well,
some
we
more
got time to
details.
think about it.
Yeah,
Just-
We
just
we should,
brainstorming.
we should as a board actually understand that.
Sure.
The appraisal.
Yes.
I think there's multiple
At
processes.
the state
probably.
level, I have been to several of those meetings, and I can tell you that it's a word fest. And in fact, I was just at one not too long ago, a few months ago, at a board that I'm on at the state level, and it's a sometimes those comptroller people come in, and they tend to give you too much, maybe that's not relative to what you need to be addressing, but it's, I think it's a good idea to get someone from the comptroller's office, as long as you're prepared to probably spend a majority of the day listening to them. So that's not an issue. You can certainly do that, can't you, Melissa?
We'll reach out. Absolutely. Let's see what type of training they have available.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
I think maybe just work on getting them to, in the short term, just get them the subject matter to, over the next month, and then
And
we
yeah.
can figure out how to
I
do that. I
think-
think it's a great idea.
James, if you look at some of the appraisal stuff that are there, the handbooks and stuff, there's an
Yeah.
income asset approach, right? And then a mix of it and exceptions to the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I think if maybe they can provide you with something where you can just look at it and say, this is what I don't understand, or this is where we should go into more depth, that might be the right way
Or maybe
to guide you,
the information that
because
Melissa
you're
would
right,
get.
everyone should have the whole picture
Yeah,
there.
because a lot of us may have different
Yeah,
things that we want to get answered,
yeah.
and with what Melissa can break down and submit to
Book is
the comptroller's office, and that person would be coming in addressing those situations.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it boils down to those two approaches with the exceptions and the rules that go with the exceptions, right? It's not much more complicated than that, other than if you say, I want to specifically look industrial, then it's a smaller chapter than
Sure.
just the whole book, so
I think
Now,
it-
Gabby, the comptroller does have some guides
that's why I'm
that
like.
we
looking-
give our
Yeah.
appraisers
Yes.
as on onboarding,
Mhm.
that we can give to the board. And there's guides for exemptions, there's guides for appraisal, there's guides for
Exactly.
classification of properties that the appraisal district has to use. We can supply those. We
Yeah.
can get the latest copies or the latest versions and give those to everybody.
That would
And
help.
that's why I asked for what I asked for, because that isn't in there.
It's,
What we went through
Okay.
with the lawsuits, that's unique, and that's not in there, and that's why I asked for the training
Okay.
on that area, how it all,
Works and everything.
the lawsuit process, and, yeah.
Okay. We have
Anything
those.
else? So in the interim, reach out to Melissa, and in January, we're gonna go into that training.
We'll get it tackled.
Okay.
And no motion.
Now, go ahead, Ed. Okay. That's item number 14. We're gonna go now into executive session. Item number 15, and public notice is given that the Board of Directors may elect to go, into executive session anytime during the meeting to discuss matters listed anywhere on the agenda when authorized by the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Should the Board of Directors elect to go into executive session, the section or sections of the Open Meetings Act authorizing the executive session will be publicly announced by the presiding officer. Upon completion of executive session, the Board of Directors may take such action as appropriate in open session. Item in executive session is discuss chief appraiser evaluation and goal setting, 551.074. At this time, it is 10:10, and we're gonna go into executive session, and let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. 10 minutes for John.
Jerry, guilt is not my strong suit.
On that, there was no action taken in the executive session. And because there's no action taken in the executive session, we don't need a motion to that effect, do we, Melissa?
No.
Okay. Then we're gonna go ahead and table item number 17, and then move on to item number 18. Okay. Okay, I'll take a motion to table number 17, please.
I'll make the motion.
Leo makes that motion.
Second.
Susie seconds that Susie seconds that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously. Okay, number 18, Ronnie, Chief Appraiser's Report.
Other than the fact that tomorrow, in case y'all are hungry, about 11:30, lunch here at the office on the 3rd floor, be our normal Thanksgiving luncheon for staff, and board of directors are invited to come.
Can we take the go plates?
I think Letty's in charge of that. You might want to check off with her. No, normally every year since I've been here, we've had Thanksgiving luncheon for the entire staff. And we buy the turkeys, and then at this point, Letty gets the hams, then everybody else gets the side dishes, and then we celebrate our Thanksgiving luncheon upstairs. So if y'all have time, come by tomorrow at 11:30. It'll be turkey dressing and dessert and everything else. And that's one of the deals for holiday gatherings. The other one will be in December meeting next month. We'll meet at the Barbecue Man after the board meeting. You and a spouse, or you and a friend, or by yourself. Everybody's welcome. And here again, this is a appreciation luncheon from me to the staff. And we've been doing that since I've been here, Letty? Or before I got here, after I got here. Anyway, that's that part. As far as the update on the overall performance of the office this year, we're close again to the 40,000 protests that we got, but actually we're about 36,000 total. And then of those, we had about 600 left that are open. So, we did again a very good year. The difference between last year and this year is that we had a lot of people on the system through e-files. A lot of those, in fact, they were doubled or tripled this year than what we had in years past. That's why we didn't have the population that we normally have upstairs in the 2nd floor. Population means that we had about 40,000 people last year, again. So as far as the update on the 3rd floor and remodeling procedure, as going forward, we're still looking to decide whether we're going to do that or not going forward. We're going to be getting an estimate as to what it can take, whether just refurbish some of the offices or a complete redo over of the office itself.
Are you gonna get that reduced to plans?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So there's gonna be architectural plans or
Yes.
designer plans for someone to look at and bid on?
Yes.
And on that, we're gonna get a closed-in bid, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then in the meantime, on the 2nd floor, we're in the process of waiting for one more bid to actually, we're going to be moving some people around to accommodate and keep them together instead of being on opposite ends of the office. This is the land department. And there are four staff people, appraisers, and they'll be in charge of the entire land process, whether it's commercial, residential, ag land, farmland, etc. And we're going to kind of restructure the middle part of the room where some of the clerks are in, and we convert those into 3 or 4 offices. We're putting little walls in there, and then also the doors to go in, make it a little more private. Then move the clerks to another area of the office. Okay?
On the 3rd floor, Ronnie, we need to make sure that the plans are definitive and that there's no changes.
Yes.
You've got to understand, when changes happen, the price never goes down.
Exactly.
And some of y'all are if you've built homes or if you've built offices, I've done all of them. And any change is like, ooh, that's good. Let's go ahead and change that. And then all of a sudden, it's costly.
Right.
It's easy to say, let's move this wall, but there's certain things that happen when you move walls. Okay, anything else?
No, other than again, I want to thank the staff for doing the work that they do. We were inundated with a lot of work this year, a lot of changes, for numbers, et cetera. The ARB, same thing. And we still have training process with all staff to make sure that they are transparent. They're also professional to do what they need to do on a daily basis. And they also need to be concerned about how they speak to whether it be a taxpayer or an ARB board member. Okay?
I've had folks call me and tell me that the professionalism that staff shows to them, even from the window, is just nothing sort of just really special to them. They feel good. They feel good enough to where they're calling me and telling me, hey, Jerry, this is what happened, and this person I talked to, and man, were they on the spot. So I can't say enough complimentary things about staff. Not so much about you, Ronnie, but staff has been, I'll kidding aside, everyone has done a great job. Okay, anything else, Ron?
No, other than that, thank you for the opportunity that we had today, and we will follow through with what needs to get done going forward.
Okay. Anything else for the next meeting?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I'd like to, Ronnie, this is to Ronnie, if you could do some type of study for, if we just appraise property every 3 years, if we just did that, where would we be financially? And the reason why I've been asked this a bunch of times, well, it only has to be appraised every 3 years. Why does my value go up every year? So kind of let us know.
Okay.
If we stayed every 3 years, because I get asked, I need to answer.
Yes.
Which is, I need a logical answer. I need to answer with numbers.
Right.
So I'd like a study of that. I'd also like a forensic audit of the industrial property appraisals to find out kind of what Kevin brought up.
What Kevin brought up,
Mhm.
yes.
That seems real important. And guys, it looks really, really bad.
Yeah.
And we need to get some breakdown on that. Anything else for Ronnie?
We will get to approve the bid on the remodel, correct?
It comes to the board, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else?
You got anything, Ed?
You covered it.
Okay.
Gabby? Caitlin? Kev?
I'm good.
Susan?
Susan?
Susie?
Susan has a question. Susie doesn't.
Okay. With that being said, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. LA makes that motion. A second?
We both seconded.
Oh. Caitlin seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is now just about 11 o'clock, 10:55. Thank you.